Casual discussions with the boys.
Remember me? Hey, I need information. You're gonna give it to me now.
Alright, chill.
Come on!
What happened to your voice?
What do you mean? What happened to my voice?
I heard you by the bridge. I know what a girl sound like.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Casual Discussions with the boys. This is episode 17. It's been a while. And we finally got onto this one, and we're looking at Spider-Man Homecoming. We did come off a bit of a low point. Well, everyone's got different viewpoints on that in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So entering this movie, we finally get our first MCU version of Spider-Man. Like, he was introduced in Civil War, but he finally gets his own solo movie, even before Falcon did. But so for our initial thoughts, what did we think of Spider-Man Homecoming, David?
Okay, well, first I want to say, I know that people on YouTube tend to get death threats from their fans. I think this is the first time I got a death threat on this show from another cast member when I compared Guardians of the Galaxy to Fresh Prince. I'll never do that ever again. but anyway, so Spider-Man Homecoming. My initial thoughts were seeing this movie was, I enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed Tom Holland's performance in Civil War. I was like, okay, this is a great Spider-Man. They've really done a great job with him. They've made him more comic book accurate, and I'm really hyped to see him in the next film. The issue with Homecoming is I felt like it has its good bits, but it drags out. A lot of the supporting characters are more like character tropes rather than actual characters. I really enjoyed Michael Keaton as the villain, but it just wasn't enough in the story for me to fully engage in it as well. I felt like by this point, the Marvel jokes were more formulaic rather than just feeling natural and feeling like I could engage with them in a natural way. Still an enjoyable film, but I think this was a point where I feel like the cinematic universe was hitting a slump once again. So that's my takeaway.
Very nice. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there had to be, even though it did step up from Guardians, there had to be a change in the humor or their approach, which we are going to get to Ragnarok. But you got a point there. Grant, what did you think of Homecoming?
I really liked it, to be honest. We all sort of waited for a while to have Spider-Man as part of the MCU, which is pretty cool. But no, I actually really like the way they did it. Like, I like how they didn't show the spider bite or anything, like none of that whole sort of thing. They sort of just got on with it and, like, yes, you know how it happened. Let's just move on. Let's actually start to develop a bit more. I think the storyline of the actual film's good. I think it suits the way they're trying to present him as a character. He's not quite at the standard of these other heroes yet. He is very neighborhood. He is very local due to his lack of experience. But also, I think his best friend in this film, I think that's what that sort of character to me is what the other Spider-Mans failed to have. Is that, like, sort of a wordy sort of sidekick, and plus he brought a lot of the humor as well, I guess. But the humor, the characters. Look, I'm with David. The villain was great. Like, I love the actor, and I love the way they put him in and how they drove his story into the end of Avengers as well. How he was, like, part of the cleanup crew and stuff. Like, I really like the way they tied him in and his motivation towards what he was doing. But and obviously having Iron Man in the film, I know Zeta would love that bit. But as a whole, I like the film. I like the story. I like Tom Holland, obviously, and I thought it fit in really well with what we were doing, and it came off very well after watching that Guardians movie or whatever it was. So
yeah,
the Fresh Prince movie.
The Fresh Prince of Nowhere.
I was saying this to David the other day. Like, Peter's friend Ned. He's basically us if we found out our mate was a superhero. We'd be asking all these questions and be like, so does Web come out of your ass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he
Just
did
be
ask
saying
that
stupid
question.
stuff.
All right. Malika, what do you think?
Malika.
Oh, Monica.
I haven't watched this movie since actually seeing it in the movies. I had to watch the cinema scenes to catch up on it.
Good choice.
It was the first Spider-Man movie that I'd seen since the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. So I actually haven't watched any of the in-betweens.
What?
Can I just say, I haven't either, to be honest.
This is interesting. Yeah.
And I think I was a bit just Spider-Man'd out. Like, I was like, they've just done too many. So I'm skipping these. Because, like, I didn't ever hear raving reviews about them. And so I was like, all right, whatever. And then when they were bringing Spider-Man into the MCU, I was a bit hesitant. Saw him in Civil War. I was like, yeah, this is cool. He's pretty awesome. So going into this, I was pretty hyped for it. Actors, they got a good cast. Michael Keaton does a really good job, but his villain is just like lame. The Vulture.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. We're sort of coming off seeing bigger, more evil bad is. So just someone, the Vulture, is a bit lame. But then it sort of fits where it is just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, you don't expect him to be going up against the Galactus level threat.
Yeah.
Like, and so having someone that is just a normal human who's found some alien tech, we can actually, you could imagine that happening in real life. Like, if some random alien tech dropped somewhere, someone would try and use it for evil. So yeah, I did enjoy it. The humor's good. Like Dave said, it was following Marvel's, just what works in every movie. I think they might have changed it a slight bit. They saw they probably might not have worked, or depending on who you talk to, worked or didn't work in Guardians 2. But other than that, it was an enjoyable movie. Didn't get bored while watching it, which is always good. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
good addition to the MCU.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think the actual storyline and the actor, Tom Holland, they made the character more believable, more relatable to, I guess, as Robin said, us. Like, in terms of, it can be, like Mark said, that could happen in real life. That's more realistic as opposed to, those bigger things. So, yeah.
And I think we forget just how young Spider-Man is.
Yeah. He's a high school kid, yeah.
16.
He's not like the other guys. Like, he's not ex-military. He's not ex-bloody KGB or Soviet spy or anything.
He's not from Asgard.
He is just a kid.
Yeah. He's exactly. But even the villain, I feel like they tried to do like a modern day version of the Green Goblin. Like, sort of ends up being someone he knows and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I think,
right. As in,
you know what I mean?
relation.
Because obviously he became the dad of his best friend with Tobey Maguire. Now it's the dad of his girlfriend. It's sort of like a similar way they've done it.
There was a bit more mystery. Because like we didn't know he was the father of the girlfriend.
Well,
Till-
that's
Audience
later.
doesn't know
that's
either.
true.
Yeah.
But in the end, in that final fight, both the original Spider-Mans and this one, Spider-Man isn't really looking to kill him because he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because it is friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, people say that this version is the closest to the comic book version, just in Tom Holland and I guess the general storyline, except it still has like MCU, like really good MCU connections with how they did everything. Like they even made a character like Vulture who's like pretty lame in most versions of himself, but in this movie he actually, like, you could follow it because it was done like pretty decent. And Michael Keaton, who was like Batman at one point, is just like a really good actor.
I got a hot take on the Vulture.
Ooh.
I actually,
him?
what? Do I know the Vulture?
No, you're like, you got a hot take. So I was like, do you know him?
Are you Peter Pan?
I wish. I actually don't think the Vulture and his crew were necessarily evil. As in, Marie and Robin were talking about this the other day about whether he was a psychopath or not. And like, I can't clinically diagnose him, but I take everything he's doing as, and I don't know, maybe Grant could relate to this more, but I take it more in regards to the whole idea of like, let me finish. The whole idea of the hard tradie, a mindset of we got to get this done. We got it. Like I take the Vulture's character as, he's a hard, down to earth, works his whole life, is looking out for himself, looking out for his own business. And then when he gets trampled on by the big guy, it's like, okay, my next move is I need to look after my family. I need to do what's right for me. And I need to move forward with that. And his next move is, well, I got all these resources. This is how I'm going to build myself up. Yes, it might not be right, but hey, I've been screwed over. I have no other choice here. So this is my next step. And so I take it more as that, I don't know, like my own limited experience of talking to a lot of tradies and all that, like, people that work in the mines, people that work, it's very this hard, tough grit of the survival, this idea of, like there's more of a toughness about it, get your hands dirty type aspect of it. So I hope that makes sense.
Like a do what you can to get by kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
he
like,
hustled.
Yeah, and like he never, like, even that scene where he kills that guy and he turns to the other guy and says, "I thought this was the anti-gravitational gun." As in, he never really meant to kill the guy. He just made a mistake. And rather than like, I took him as just moving on, not being like, I don't care, but being like, I got to keep moving forward. I got to, like, again, that, like you said, a hustle. Life is life. You just got to. So. And I never take him, and even like the way he approaches Peter, he doesn't want to hurt Peter. He's like, look, you're just a kid that's in the way. So that's how I take him more. And that's why I think he's different to others, as in he is in some ways the everyday man who just got bad cards and is like, all right, well, rather than letting the bad cards break me, I'm just going to, do what I need to do to get by. So that's how I see it.
In all fairness, he did get screwed over pretty hard and pretty unfairly.
Yeah.
And you're right. He was just an honest, hardworking bloke just trying to get it. He got his contract to clean up the thing. And as I said, he said, I bought trucks for this, da-da-da. Like, he literally put all his money into that one thing.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And he's got a daughter that goes to a special school.
Yes, exactly. And then, you know what? You watch the whole film. He never really was set out to hurt people or kill people.
No.
He was out there to get it, make money, keep his life going. And the guy he killed anyway was gonna. You could pretty well see he was gonna make trouble, and he was planning. He didn't care who he hurt or who he upset.
Yeah.
So you're right. He didn't plan to kill him, and even though he did, he was sort of a bad guy anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess I definitely see where you're coming from, though, because he's not really like a real. He's definitely not on the scale of like a Loki or anyone like that. So
yeah.
It's very low.
This is interesting because my view on him was like, I thought it was like, at the start it seemed like his whole thing was revenge, but I was like, what is he getting revenge for? Like, it didn't seem like a big deal to me because I didn't really understand the whole idea that like what had been taken away from him. Like I didn't really get how big that was or how costly it was to his well-being and his life. So but I did see it more and more throughout the movie, the kind of almost desperation to just like keep his business going and whatnot. So it made sense to me. And I think he's a better villain than other ones. Like, I don't know who you can compare to, but like in that he still shows respect to Spider-Man but like he still lets you get things done. And I think Michael Keaton just naturally, like he knows he has he's good at portraying a dark side to him. So he just put it off really well. And after that talk,
he didn't want to actually hurt Spider-Man. He had no interest in that at all. He just basically saying, just stay out of my way.
Yeah.
Let me make my money and we'll all be good. But obviously what he was doing and what he was selling would have ended up hurting people in the future.
Yeah.
Obviously, when people got their hands on those sort of weapons and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with David. I agree with you. He was sort of almost to the point at the end. You're sort of like, well, you know what? I can half understand why you're doing this, but you're just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, you see at the beginning that there is a side to him that is a bit reckless, or will do whatever it takes when he punches the guy in the face at the beginning. Yeah. So like that side shows like, so okay, this is a guy who's trying to keep things going, but also there's not much that'll stop him. Like he'll just go for it.
And he's not interested. Even like, I don't think he ever calls himself the Vulture in the movie. Like even when the other guy calls himself the Shocker, he makes fun of him. Says, "Oh, you're going around and going, oh, I'm the Shocker." You know, the Shocker. Like, he makes fun of the whole thing. And even with like Peter, his approach to him, even in the car, is like, be a kid. Go in and date my daughter. Go and enjoy your prom, like your whatever. You know, stop. Just don't get involved in this because you know you don't understand what it is. Like, so that's really like he's a real. He's sort of like, it's weird, but it's like he's a realist in that he's different. He's in the comic book world, but then he's not, in the sense. Yeah.
He's not buying into the whole alien invasion superhero thing. He's just saying, listen, this is a business thing.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the Avengers or aliens. I just want to sell some shit and get rich. That's basically how he says it.
Yeah.
And the way he jokes about the names too, even the way he says Spider-Man, he's like, good old Spider-Man.
Like, if you think about it,
That's so good.
he's Dominic Toretto, just from a different. Sorry, yes, I'm being
Not Fast and Furious.
Why?
Please.
It had to be done.
So, are we just confirming that one of the next Spider-Man movies will be in Brazil?
Oh, Brazil.
It's just going into like
And then in space?
Fresh Prince of Queens. Wow. Okay. Dominic.
In saying that, he didn't actually have to sell weapons, especially when he had that thing that could just like put a portal.
Yeah, that thing was.
He could have just put that on any bank wall and then just walked straight into the bank.
Can I just say though, you'd spoken about before about him punching the guy. If or you, Mark, as well, you'd know if you started something like that and you put all your bloody money into it and you were literally basically told, hey, you're going to be broke now because we're going to shut you down. And then someone makes a smart ass comment. I wouldn't stop at punching. All right. I honestly would. I'll crack him and I'll crack him again and I'll crack his friends too. Because that would piss me off. So I understand where he's coming from. Like, you can't come in here and tell me my whole life's basically over because you don't want me touching this shit. It's pretty harsh.
Yeah. It makes a lot more sense to me now. But, like, I guess my thing was compared to Far From Home, which I know Grant doesn't really like, but in Far From Home, Mysterio's vendetta was a bit more personal with Tony Stark. In this one, I didn't feel like it was that personal. But, like, again, all his actions weren't really towards revenge. It was just trying to run his business.
Yeah. As I said, he was just basically saying, stay out of my way. You're not my problem.
Yeah, Spider-Man, literally, it was in his way. Like, he could have done this in any other city, and the Avengers wouldn't have batted an eye. Like, they wouldn't have cared.
Which kind of makes sense for the movie because a lot of people get upset at why they're making all his villains Tony Stark orientated or so on. But again, at this point, Spider-Man's a kid. He's like it's like what Falcon said in Civil War. You know, everyone's got a gimmick now. As in, there's all these different people that have superpowers. What makes Spider-Man stand out? And he needed a villain like Vulture who. Yeah, like Spider-Man's trying to be that eager teenager. Like, I'm going to be the superhero. I'm going to get involved in this. And at first it's seen as just like in the way, but eventually becomes the hero where, you know, and then in the next one with Mysterio, yes, it's still connected to Tony. But as time's going on, it's more and more these villains are becoming more connected to Spider-Man. But they can't just off the bat be like, oh, yeah, I have a vendetta against a 17-year-old who shoots spider webs. Like, I don't know.
They needed a villain to match the hero. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and you know what? You see it more even because I'm pretty sure he makes reference to the fact that you saved my daughter's life, so I won't kill you, basically.
Yeah.
That's that sense of respect and that sense of he's not a total monster.
Mm.
He's not a Loki. He's not a Malagith. He's not nothing like that. He's literally just a bloke trying to get by and he doesn't like spiders. He's got a phobia. Let's be honest.
Speaking of monsters, has anyone seen the Morbius trailer? The new Jared Leto.
Yeah.
Yeah, a while ago.
Did everyone see in the end when the Vulture, like Michael Keaton, rocks up and says, "What's up, Doc?"
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on with that, but
I think
I have no idea how it fits into the MCU.
I think they're just leaving seeds out there, and they'll grow them if they need them later.
We've all just talked about how the Vulture's an everyday man and blah blah blah. How do you bring in vampires into that?
In the same universe.
In the MCU, it makes sense, but my thing is that I'm worried because it's almost like a DC thing where they're trying to make connections where it's not really that necessary to do. And you end up with this rushed franchise thing, which is just like, you didn't need to do that.
Well, they've had the whole year to think on it.
Yeah.
Marvel's had a year to just do nothing, to plan for the next 10 years again.
I bloody hope they do a good job. But you know what it is too? Spider-Man's constantly trying to obviously prove himself in this movie as well. Yeah. So he takes this villain as like, if I can take this bloke down, I'm going to be accepted, and that's where his motivation comes from. But also, I feel like if I could swap over now to, I guess, Iron Man's cameos in this movie, which I loved. But it really shows, having Iron Man do what he does in this film really shows how much of a higher level someone like him is compared to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, he just comes and fixes the problem straight away. He saves his life. He's literally chilling out in some sports car, but chatting. Like, it just shows the difference in class and difference in experience. And it really shows, okay, this is just Spider-Man. He is very new. He is very inexperienced.
Yeah.
If Iron Man was on this case, it would have been finished 6 days ago. So, yeah.
Arguably, cool. I too really liked. Obviously, I liked Iron Man in this, but I find him to be like the best, worst mentor you could have, just because he's so flawed and like he's not really good at like he is a guide, but it seems like it's always an accident. Like everything he tells Peter to do, Peter kind of does the opposite, but it just works out in the end. And Tony's like, yeah, that's what I meant to tell you. So I like that he's in the background, and I like that he's actually trying to, because he sees potential in the kid, obviously, and
he secretly cares.
Yeah, and it's like similar to Bruce Banner. I think he's just got a thing with other scientists. He sees the potential in them, and as one of the faces of the Avengers, he acts as a really good mentor. It's just that he has his own mistakes that he's made, so he's not the best role model at times. Like, he's even hitting on his auntie, which is pretty funny.
Did you feel that, like, even though Robert Downey Jr. is just great hands down, but did you kind of feel for this one he wasn't as in, like, he did a great job, but I feel like this was more one. It's like, hey, could you just come in for a few days and film these scenes and call it? Because I don't feel like I didn't feel like it was his movie in the sense of, like, there's a big difference between his performance in this than in, say, Civil War or Endgame. As in, it's like he knew he wasn't going to be in it much. So, do you get what I'm coming from that? Like,
or they tricked him, told him it was going to be the next Iron Man, and then he got to the movie set and went, "Oh crap, this is Spider-Man." Oh, whatever. He's like, "While I'm here, I'll film a few scenes."
Like, why am I in India and why am I in a limo?
You know what? I think a lot of people that I guess, like other mates that I've spoken to and stuff, they really thought that they've used Iron Man to make sure the movie had some success. Like, there's a bit of how do you say it? A security net, basically. Like, if for some reason Spider-Man sucks, people will watch it because Iron Man's in it. Which I partly agree with. I think they've thrown that in there as obviously a cool thing to add, and I actually think it's necessary. But a lot of people think it's just to have that safety net of a strong character to make sure it doesn't go off the tracks too much.
I saw that in the promotionals, where the trailers, you had like quite a few Iron Man bits, probably the only bits in the movie, And then even in the poster, like Iron Man's face is huge on them. He's even on the front of it. But I think it's like, yeah, like David said, it's like Tom Holland's interview, and then Robert Downey just comes in out of nowhere and just like, hey, how's it going? Has a couple of quips here and there, and then just leaves.
Yeah.
But I think
I
think they put him in enough because it's still a Spider-Man movie. Because even in the little bits that he was in there, he does get a lot of attention. So I feel like if you did have him in too much, you might have taken away from Spider-Man's storyline or Tom Holland's development.
I think
what?
he's necessary in there.
Yes.
Like some of the scenes where he pops up, because he's Spider-Man's mentor, when you're that age, and especially the fact it works because Holland's not, Spider-Man, not Holland, isn't looking at him just as a mentor, but he'd also be popping in as somewhat of a father figure.
Yeah.
And so when Spider-Man screws up after Iron Man's put so much trust and faith in him to go, you're the next generation. You've seen what us adults have done in Civil War. Don't be like us. And then Spider-Man has the scenes where he fails. Iron Man has to fly in and save the day. That disappointment, and you'd feel it. Like if that happened to you in real life, you'd feel it.
It is like let down.
You've let down. Possibly the most important person in your life that you look up to, you've let them down. So if Iron Man wasn't in that scene, that wouldn't have hit Spider-Man. Like, it would be like, okay. I've stuffed this up a little bit, but look, I've sort of saved it in the end. But because it had to get saved,
I think it's necessary. It's necessary because in Infinity War, they didn't have time to touch on their relationship. They needed them to already be quite friendly by the time Infinity War came around due to the scenes that are in it. So I like that they've used this film to get them on that more mentor train, father-son train, so they could just go into Infinity War straight into the action, straight into the father-son style arguments, rather than people going, hold on a minute, when did they get so close? When did they hang out?
Yeah,
I think that's
very required. Those
just honestly, my bag that I took to Italy,
Yeah.
you could literally not miss it when it came off the plane because it's got a Thor thing on it.
Wait, you went to Italy?
Like 2 years ago.
When was this?
Two years ago.
2 years ago in September.
Are there photos?
Yeah, there's heaps of photos, man. I can show you. I can show you the PG ones. I can show you the R-rated ones.
Save them for.
It's a romantic.
Save those ones for Mjolnir, Grant.
Grant went while they were filming Far From Home, and he got disappointed. That's why he came back.
They wouldn't let me in. All I asked was to be Mysterio, and they're like, no. I was like, okay. Anyway, little side story there. Now we'll get back to it.
David, were you
So
going to
what
say
do we
something?
think of Aunt May?
Wait, I thought David was going to say something about Iron Man and Tony.
I was.
Oh, it looked
I
like
was?
you
Were you? I don't know.
were.
Honestly, that story was so good, I forgot.
You two texting behind the scenes.
All I'm going to say is that Grant said that by Infinity War, like they were good and ready. I think they developed like pretty much enough. Like in Civil War, you saw them together, so I think it was enough in this one to have that mentor and I don't know.
It's a
intern
good
role.
It's a good replacement for the Uncle Ben because there's only so many times you can do with great power comes great responsibility. Like, yeah. So it was a good replacement.
And the payoff.
Sorry, go.
Oh, the payoff in regards to like his costume, like all the gadgets, like that fits so well. Like, who else would you want suit upgrades from? Iron Man. Like,
yeah. You know, one of my favorite parts in the whole movie is when it's the scene, obviously, when they're in the bedroom, and I like when he's like, "I'm going to sit there now. You can move the leg." It was like that was funny. But when he just puts his hand on his shoulder, like he's like,
in
I
Civil
do
War.
this, but I'm just going to put this here and let's see what happens. I really like that moment because that really that made it more real. That made it more okay. He actually cares about this kid.
But still, Tony's awkwardness when it comes to handling that kind of thing, and even the hug in the car. Oh, it's not a hug. this isn't a hug. I'm just trying to tell you to get out. But like, it pays off in Endgame when he comes back.
Yeah, people linked it to that. Yes.
Yeah.
So like, he finally got that hug that he wanted.
All right, Malika's segment, Aunt May.
You all know what I think. I've got her as my background.
Yeah. What did you, in comparison to Tobey Maguire's Aunt May, the goat of all Aunt Mays?
Goat. Yes.
Who Marissa is. Marissa Tomei is the goat of all Aunt Mays.
What made her stand out to you?
Oh, we need to keep that to.
Hold on. Besides the fact that
we need to keep that to one of our other sessions.
She's 60 to 100 years younger. You know, that's probably the first point.
I thought her relationship with Peter was a lot more. I don't want to say closer, but like she related to him in a different way compared to the other aunt. Mate, well, you guys didn't see the Andrew Garfield one, but that one was more like an actual auntie. In this one, she seemed like a high school student in the way like she talked to Peter in this. So I thought like
friend.
Yeah. I thought
She's like the cool auntie.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather watch Garfield, to be honest, than those ones.
It'll be interesting, like if we finish all these and if we consider looking at all the other Marvel movies, because you guys haven't seen the other Spider-Mans.
Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Yeah, well, because they haven't seen Andrew Garfield's Spider-Mans.
No, we're doing Blade first.
You know what though? One of my mates made reference to some of the looks. This is way off base, but some of the looks she gives Peter, I'm like, is there like some sexual tension here or something between you and your?
I reckon Marvel. No, I reckon they did that 100% on purpose, just because of who it
She
is.
says something to him, bites a lip. I'm like, hey?
I think
it's because of the actress 100%. They knew they picked her, and they knew that it was going to be received the way it was.
She's got
100%.
She's got constant come to bed eyes on, and then she bites her lips, and you're like, "What are you doing? He's your nephew." He's not Texas.
Maybe he's a doctor.
I can't say I saw it that way, but like,
not to mention he's in high school.
It's very similar to like Transformers 4, Mark Wahlberg and his daughter. It's the same deal. Same deal. You put them next to each other, they're basically the same film.
But I think again, well, not Mark Wahlberg's Transformers, but because she relates to him on that level as a friend, that she does those weird jokes. I won't say the looks, but like the jokes that she makes.
But it's weird that the only reference they have to like her being like the attractive aunt is a creepy Asian guy being like forgetting the fact that he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like him just come out just like
it's on the house. Yeah, I got you.
Tony Stark makes a lot of references.
Huh?
What?
Tony Stark says a couple of things.
I was about to say, one of my favourite things is when he's talking to her in the car. Yeah. He's like, is she wearing something skimpy?
Skimpy, I hope.
And then he says you're unusually attractive aunt.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, but that was literally Marvel directors and writers just playing. They did it. It was just all like they just played on the big joke.
At that point, we weren't sure if Tony was single or not though after Civil War.
Yeah.
So we're like, maybe this could happen.
Yeah.
But it didn't, obviously, because that would be weird.
It was just all entertainment, I reckon. It was just all done on purpose.
I'm just imagining Mark Wahlberg as like Uncle Ben, but he's like doing this speech in his Boston accent, like. Because he said Transformers 4, and I'm just thinking
I really want to hear Optimus Prime say those words. It'll be so much more inspiring. But we're not going to get. We've gone Fast and Furious. We've gone Transformers. I don't want to go too far.
I am Optimus Prime.
Marty is a MILF.
Aelf?
Yeah, Aelf. Sorry, that's my bad. Aelf Hitler over here.
Hail Hydra.
It all links up, see?
Actually, I never gave my initial thoughts of the movie, and in hindsight, after Guardians 2, like I said, I was off the Marvel train, so I didn't really like this movie when I first watched it. I think because, well, other than Guardians 2, I couldn't relate, or I thought it was a movie for like high school kids, or like it felt like a teen movie, and I was like, the Spider-Mans we'd had before were kind of more mature in a way, and also most of the MCU movies were a bit more mature as well. And then to have a movie with high school kids in it, I was just like, this is kind of lame. Like, I don't really care. I don't care about any of these kids. I was like, oh, I'm happy. I'm basically happy where I don't want to deal with a kid. But watching it again, I probably didn't give it a fair shake. I probably won't move it up in my rankings much, but I did like the contrast between how you had Peter trying to live out his high school life, but the contrast between when things actually get serious, whenever he's involved with anything to do with Vulture, like it would escalate real quick. So I was like, and the fact that remembering that he's a kid put in this environment, I was like, this is a pretty good movie. It's actually an accurate Spider-Man, and one that we deserved.
I think the whole high school thing helps bring it down to that more localized, believable character.
Well, I found the friendly neighborhood stuff better when he was dealing with all these little crimes, like the bike getting stolen, or even Michael Keaton's villain,
the lady with the churro.
Yeah. And yeah, Michael Keaton's villain, like his storyline. But yeah, all the bits in high school kind of dragged for me. Like, I didn't really care about Liz.
Yeah, but even the part when he's in the bunker, like, it's funny when he's like, "Oh, how long have I been in here? Oh, 5 minutes." But that scene, like, that dragged for a long time for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't really care about any of the high school kids. I mean, his friend Ned was funny and relatable, but I was just like, I didn't care about any of these.
But even even say Mr. Harrington didn't stand out to me until the second one. And this one, it was just like, I don't know. I think there was just way too. But then Far From Home, I was about to say that there were way too many characters. But then Far From Home has the same amount of high school students, and they stood out to me more in the second one. Yeah. Well, in this one, it just was like, oh, she's the awkward teenager, and she's the gothic chick, and he's the rich kid, and it was just that there wasn't much depth to them.
It's actually quite an old school storyline when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Very cliche, early 2000s high school movie.
They try to do like the Breakfast Club type. Yeah.
They even reference Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah. But what I do find is that there's the contrast between obviously Homecoming and Far From Home. In obviously Peter's trying his hardest to be a superhero, and Far From Home he's trying his hardest to escape it. So
yeah,
it basically shows how much he's been through, I guess.
It's actually good development, and they didn't use the way they used Zendaya in this. She was like, why?
They were trying to do.
Yeah, it was.
You guys haven't seen Breakfast Club, have you?
I have.
No.
Okay, well, all you need to know, there's a chick in there that she's known for being like the awkward, gothic type character, and they're like, oh, let's make Zendaya's character like her, but it just didn't fit well for the movie. And then in the end, when they're like, oh, she's MJ, I'm like, why does she have to be MJ? Why can't she just be her own character? Like, she doesn't resemble MJ one single bit.
I never thought, when I first watched it, she doesn't even look like Michael Jackson. I don't know what they're on about.
But I will say that a lot of people younger than me like really enjoyed this movie. Maybe because they found it relatable. I don't know. But I was like,
hurt to say that, eh? Younger than you.
Does. Yeah. Maybe it's just the sad reality of getting old. But
dude, after today, where people are making references to YouTube celebrities and TikTok celebrities, I think I'm old. I don't know any of these people.
There was no older feeling they're getting an apprentice. That's my thing. And you go, listen, kid. And you go, hold on a minute.
Great, you gotta find this kid.
I hated that person when I was his age. I was like, you're old and boring. Piss off.
He's just your Padawan, Grant.
Oh,
That doesn't make it any better.
I'm
Get
gonna
him
be
to grow the braid.
I'm gonna be
get him
his
to get the
Iron Man.
braid.
No, I don't know. Look,
Does
the
he
only thing
remind you of like a younger version of you?
oh no. Like if I was I guess a little bit awkward and had a terrific mustache, then yes. But he's got a great mustache. That's all he's got going for him, though. Not gonna lie.
Is his name Luigi or Mario?
No, he's Italian, so it could be. He should maybe stick to plumbing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't know diggers. He's just used to going in people's houses and putting pipes together.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll steer away from my young Padawan.
I was just going to say, maybe this film just represents our struggles of getting older. That's why we struggle.
We're
Like every
happy.
time Grant looks at his apprentice, he just thinks of Spider-Man Homecoming. Just like, oh.
Problem is, I think he's Italian, so I think of Italy and I think of Far From Home, and I'm like, I don't like you. Yeah, no, that's okay.
We haven't talked about Tom Holland, no, not really, in regards to his Spider-Man, and just Spider-Man in general. I think he's a very good actor. Like he, especially emotionally. I mean, his voice is very high pitched and whiny, but I got over that like pretty quick, especially after Civil War, because he is Spider-Man and he is a kid. But the bit where he gets buried after Vulture kind of like drops the building on him, and he's like, "Go on, Spider-Man!" Oh, well, first he's like, "Help!" And then, "Go on, Spider-Man, you can do it." And I was like, I actually didn't find it as cheesy as it should have been. I was like, this kid's good.
You're right.
And in regards to Spider-Man, I like that this version of Spider-Man fits very well in the MCU in that he's kind of like, he's smart. So he's got a bit of Tony in him, but also he's got that New York attitude that Cap has or whatever, where he's looking out for people, you know? Like even Vulture, when at the end he says he's literally trying to save Vulture. And also sacrificing going to prom and a lot of other stuff to do his duty as Spider-Man. I was like, it's a pretty good mix. So I kind of see him as like a Cap mixed with Iron Man, but really he's his own person. So
the thing is, and this is where they seem to be going with it, is with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it's like they all end up becoming jaded because life just doesn't treat them well. And now the way they've left off Tom Holland's Spider-Man is after, like in this movie, he's still the hopeful Spider-Man. But it's like they seem to always go down this road of, eventually he's going to become jaded. So I'm hoping they keep the hopeful Tom Holland Spider-Man, that they can find a way to be like, life gives him a hard go, but he's still able to keep above it, rather than what's happened in previous, representations.
I think this Spider-Man, he's got support. He's got backing of the Avengers, the new Avengers, if that's what
and the
you want to call
multiverse.
them. Yeah, where the others didn't have a whole universe of characters. So, like, even in this one,
And a multiverse.
he's hoping. He's hoping that they do bring in, like, we know Doctor Strange, etc., will come into play with multiverse. And so I think that's maybe it was one of the other versions of me.
Are you a scroll?
I think that's why, like, he comes like he's the good Spider-Man because he fits in that. Like, he's not a fully independent character. Like, we can still see that he needs to lean on others a little bit. But then when he wants to be, like, when he's in a movie on his own, it still works. Which is sort of the formula they're using for every character so far.
Yeah.
They can do a standalone and it's still fine. But then when they're with the others, everyone has their part to play, everyone leans on each other, and it just works.
Which is interesting because there was a backlash when they announced Doctor Strange is going to be Spider-Man's new mentor. They're like, oh, Spider-Man doesn't need a mentor. But my response is, why would you not want a movie with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man? Why would you not want a movie with Spider-Man and Iron Man? Like, what's the problem?
Could you imagine Spider-Man with Thor? Just adding extra velocity to that hammer. Just slings it along.
Lightning webs.
You know, is this the... I haven't seen the second run of the Andrew Garfield ones. Is this the first time they make reference to the fact that he's got nothing to shoot away at? Where he's like he's in the field and he's like
he's running.
I think that's the first time. Yeah,
because that's like a really good point.
Because he's always in the city. I think.
Yeah.
He's always got a building to web.
And you watch in Endgame as well when they're doing the big charge. He's actually slinging webs off Ant-Man's hands.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah, that's true. And like, just in regards to the whole having a support, we've said it heaps of times. He's a kid. Yeah, I mean, he will be older, obviously, but
he's around our age. Yeah,
can't relate. But I think they specifically chose Doctor Strange because I think him and Benedict Cumberbatch did a lot of interviews together or something as well, didn't they?
I think they did a press tour together.
Yeah, but it could have also just been they were always going to do it, anyways.
They might have good chemistry, like just on screen and off screen.
They've got like 10 years of plan done for sure. 100%.
You know when he makes sorry, I know it's about a lot about our age tonight, but like, you know when he's like makes those jokes, like, oh, have you seen that really old movie Aliens? Have you seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back? Yeah. Then I realized there's actually like kids that age, like they won't watch movies from the late 90s or early 2000s. Like, oh, that's a really old movie, and I'm like, this came out when I was 3. How could you say it's an old movie? Like,
looks okay. The guy I'm working with was born in 2001, so that's depressing enough.
No. Yeah. Oh, sack him, please.
Empire Strikes Back was 1980, Fitz, so none of us are alive then.
I know,
but we still know the movie.
Yeah, we don't. But it's still an old movie-ish to us.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really thought of it as an old movie, but I wouldn't go, oh, that's such an old movie. But maybe, I don't know.
It's oldish.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole attitude of anything that's before 2000 is old.
But yeah, I'm thinking now, I guess, like, I'm talking movies like Independence Day were like what I grew up with, I guess, because like they were still big around the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, but it's like so my fiance's brother thinks Chicken Run is old. Chicken Run.
Look, it is. Look, keep in mind, like, it is old, but you know, Iron Man's 12 years old. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
So,
this is turned to therapy session for like
Lord of the Rings next year is 20 years.
Yes, oh, no. I've been friends with Mark for 20 years since kindergarten.
True.
Like I've had a friend for 20 years makes me feel like Gandalf.
Mate, we'll be doing cheers to that when I'm in Wollongong.
Oh, bloody oath.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is stay tuned to our next podcast, which will be filmed in a nursing home.
Yeah. Hey, the time we reach bloody Far From Home, we're going to be in a nursing home. Where things are going. It's like, like a little 50 years later thing on the screen. I went to my mate's place because he needed a lift with this slab that he poured for his pizza oven. So he goes, I've got like 4 blokes coming to lift this thing, because it weighs a fair bit. And I bent down. He goes, can you pick one end up on your own? Just try it. And I said, all right. So like, because he could just do it, and I'm bigger than him, so I was like, I should be able to do it. And I bent down, I bent the knees, did the full. But as I'm coming up, you just hear, got my knees and everything cracking. And he's just looking at me like, are you all right? I was like, I don't know. Like, everything in my body cracked at once. Like, I think my jaw cracked picking something up. Just everything's falling apart. I don't know. I'm 26, guys. It's game over now. I'm on the wrong side of the 20s.
For some perspective, watching this movie, I felt old because my eyes felt really strained. I got up, my knee was a bit stiff, so I was like,
It was way too long.
It was just too much.
I didn't have the stamina for it.
You know what makes me feel old?
What?
Putting the glasses on.
Oh.
Do you always have glasses?
I should have a pair on.
It's probably just for like this phone stuff and like driving and stuff. But it does help when I'm watching telly and stuff. Because like I didn't realize for years I'm sitting there watching telly like this, and like you don't even realize. Like,
Yeah.
It also makes him smarter, Fitz. I think the first session he wore them, he was bringing some big words out of his thesaurus.
no, because I can actually read the dictionary.
You got.
I found new words. And I was
Edith.
like, oh, that's no, okay.
You didn't like
That'd be
Far
good.
From Home, but you did get Edith.
Yes. I'm not.
Bro, you know you can get those and put them on tax work. They pay you back for it.
Yeah, I
Oh
know that.
yeah, because you can claim up to like $300, right?
'Cause it's
I just claim everything. I claim everything. I'll buy a Tic Tacs and say it's for work. I don't care.
Robert, can you include all this in the podcast? I think people need
Because it just shows their age.
on,
We're
give me
talking
like-
about claiming stuff on tax.
Give me like 1 second.
This is why, like, Homecoming doesn't.
Hey guys, so the other day I come home and I shot
Hey,
the basketball
Francis.
with responsibility.
Francis, you're not the only one, mate. These I should be wearing.
Oh my god!
Oh, hey, Project.
I've just added like 50 IQ to myself.
Oh my god! It's like one of the Infinity Stones on your face.
Time Stone.
Hey, do we want to talk about Scorpion? He's.
Oh,
Mortal Kombat.
yeah. He.
Oh, that was from
on
the
it.
90s, Mark. We can't talk
I
about
do-
things from the 90s.
I do want to touch on Sub-Zero as well and Raiden.
And Liu Kang.
I like the fact that he's going to be. Oh, if they do, they better use him because he's another Spider-Man villain that we haven't really seen much of. So I'm always keen for villains that they don't really use. And Scorpion's pretty lame, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I did like that scene though, because again, it was another showing of Vulture respecting Spider-Man because he doesn't give away anything.
But once again, it doesn't make sense that he's like, yeah, I'm not going to get in business with this this Scorpion guy. But vampires? Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Fair enough. Anything else?
I might have to talk to you guys later about salary sacrifice and salary packaging because I don't want to get a lower tax.
All right.
My dear
All right. Closing thoughts.
You know what I actually do salary sacrifice.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that. I thought it was only healthcare professionals that got it.
Like, I found myself sitting on the table opening mail with like a letter open. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? Go out and shoot a basketball or something.
Are you with Maxia?
Yeah, but don't hurt yourself.
Maxia.
Sorry?
Are you with Maxia? Like, are they the people you do salary
No,
sacrifice?
sorry, man. My hearing's going to.
No, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, no worries. Can you just put it in big, send it in big bold letters over text? Nah, this is bad.
Font 72.
Closing thoughts. I think, yeah, just for me, I didn't give this movie a fair shake when I first watched it, just cause it was coming off I wasn't on the MCU train. I was just like, Guardians crap. This movie was, it's there. But watching it again, bit more perspective and kind of respecting the contrast of friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Actually, this version of Peter is like, it's perfect. It's not as weird and geeky as Tobey Maguire is, even though Tobey's great, and not as cool as Andrew Garfield is. It's like a good balance in between of what Peter Parker should be. So like the casting was brilliant. Tony Stark, all his scenes were great. Like what better? Like you couldn't have a cooler mentor. And I do like the contrast between the scenes of when Peter's just living out his high school life towards when things escalated whenever he had to fight Vulture. Shout outs to Childish Gambino, Don Glover. I loved him in this movie. My favorite scene in the whole thing is the boat scene when Spider-Man tries to save everyone and is holding everything together and all that. I thought that was cool, and then Iron Man comes in and saves the day or whatever. But I thought it was really cool, especially because he's utilizing all these web stuff. So that was a pretty cool scene. In regards to my Tobey Maguire rating, I'd probably give it a 7.
That's a good amount. That's a good amount of Tobes.
Yeah, 7 Tobey Maguires. Malika.
Okay.
Oh, right.
Oh, Monica.
It's like Jason Derulo that started his song says his own name. Whenever Malika comes on, like Malika.
Oh, Monica.
Mark Malika. Marcus Malika.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, I enjoyed this movie. It was a good change coming off Guardians of the Galaxy 2. As we know, we were pretty disappointed with that movie. So it was a breath of fresh air.
What happens in that movie? I'm joking.
Something down to earth as well. We'd sort of had big battles and galactic level threat for the last little bit. So we sort of went down to your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, as we keep on saying. It's almost like you were saying, Zeets, with Captain America. It's like if Captain America became Spider-Man when he was still a scrawny kid. It's pretty much what Holland, what Spider-Man would be like. Action was good. It fits in the MCU where it needs to. Has just the right sort of little support side characters that we see in the rest of the MCU pop in once every while to sort of let us know that we're in the MCU. You almost forget. If Iron Man wasn't in it, Happy, those characters, if they weren't in it, you'd forget you were watching an MCU movie. It would just be another side venture that Marvel's doing. My rating, I have no idea where I've put this on my list, by the way. I can't remember. I'll say Tobes. How many Maguires?
You have it 9th, by the way.
That's all right. I might move it up a little bit then. I might give it 7.8 Tobes.
Ooh.
And that extra 0.3 from the 7.5 just purely becomes from Marissa Tomei being in it. She's a breath of fresh air to the MCU.
It's on the house. All right, Grant.
Natalie Portman, eat your heart out. Well, I'll make it quick because, Mark, I don't want to keep you from your date there.
She's been sitting there the whole time.
Yeah. I guess.
And just staring at me.
Yeah. She's like, hurry up. Besides, Mark's made a good point about making sure you keep it a MCU film with having Iron Man and stuff in it. I guess the only other way they linked it was at the beginning, after the Avengers battle in New York. Yeah. As a film, I thought it was actually I enjoyed it. I can't remember where I put it on my list, but I did enjoy it. I watched it again the other day.
You had it 10th.
Okay, yeah. So I think
that's pretty close to me.
Tom Holland, I think, is a great actor. I think he's really good for his age, and he portrays that, Spider-Man friendly neighborhood thing really well. I loved Iron Man's things.
You had it 8th, not 10th.
Oh, there you go. I knew I liked it. I'm getting a bit of memory loss in the old age here. But I liked the Iron Man parts. The villain for me, I think the villain was perfect because it suited the rank of hero that we have at this time, which he obviously wasn't very experienced, so we needed a very very low-key hero. I thought the film was good. In terms of Toby's, I'm going to go 7.5 Toby's.
Not bad.
Yeah. That's my final thoughts.
Nice. David?
So, like I said, this is the third reboot of the Spider-Man. And for the third reboot, I think it really held up. I think the inclusion into the MCU was done really well. And yeah, Tom Holland was good. And while I don't think this is his best, again, I think this film had a lot of pressure on it to work. And I think because of that, I think I personally believe the studio would have limited the amount of, what would you say? The amount of, say, maybe ad lib, or maybe the amount of, the actors could just act natural and just, step out of bounds and just do what they do. I feel like they would probably put in a very structured format. And I think that's what kind of limited Tom Holland's performance and their performances. But still, the film held up. It was enjoyable. Like we've all said, the Vulture was really good and they had a very good perspective on it. I just feel that they approached the material a lot better in further films, and this one it dragged in bits. But overall, I enjoyed it, and yeah, I think all up, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. 7 Tobey Maguires out of 10, and that's after tax. So yeah,
It's about 6 after your salary sacrifice.
oh really?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. It's good to be back. This is actually the OG cast, the Iron Man 1 cast.
Yeah.
It was fun to have you back. Hopefully next one, big movie, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
We'll get the full cast of the boys. Follow our socials. We'll catch you on the next video. Take it easy.
I was like full winding that up. I was excited to.
I suppose we'll need my brother back.
Oh, yeah, right.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
Yeah.
Sorry, boys. We had
You need to edit out like the last like 4.
We just had a big tax conversation.